always be such strict, rigid, absolutely not. You got to go put one toe over my boundary and you're out. But in the very beginning, if that's where you are, I give you full permission. Kick them out. They got to go. Welcome back to the House of Cups. I'm Sage, your friendly ally and companion on this journey of healing, awakening, and transformation. This is not the video that I wanted to make because I'm of the mindset that you focus on what you want instead of what you don't want. But every now and again, there are some things that you really just have to understand. And once you understand them, you move them out the way, focus on what you want instead of what you don't want. Like, I am focused on the reality that I want to create. I am a firm believer in those things. Now that you know where I stand, we got to talk about toxic people. To start, this is not going to be about labeling or diagnosing anybody as a narcissist or a toxic person per se. I may use the term toxic person because I have to use a phrase. I could use toxic characteristics, but there are some people who are toxic. We know that. There are some people who are narcissists. We know that. But this video is not about labeling a person good or bad, right or wrong. Really, this video is about you and identifying patterns of behavior that are safe for you. So when it comes to narcissism, we want to focus on just identifying patterns of behavior because the truth about it is that these narcissistic traits technically exist on a spectrum. So on one end of the spectrum, you have no self, where somebody feels invisible and they don't have a sense of self. You get into those kinds of experiences with CPTSD, for example. In the middle, you have your healthy sense of self. That is a healthy ego. That is the solar plexus when it is balanced and activated. And then on the far end of the spectrum of narcissism, you have your abusive narcissist. My call to the empath, to the sensitive, the HSP, or the person that experiences CPTSD is don't get lost in the woods trying to determine where somebody is on that spectrum. You can do that if you need to. But my advice to you is that if you're like me and you have a tendency to freeze or fawn, don't allow yourself to freeze or fawn in a situation trying to determine whether or not somebody's good or bad, narcissist or not, toxic or not. There are patterns of behavior that you can identify. And if those patterns leave you feeling confused, or if they leave you feeling pressured, or if they leave you feeling unsafe in your body, if you're constantly experiencing a surge of anxiety coursing through your body, that's the information that you need to know. That's all the information that you need to know. And you can take action from there. If repeated interactions leave me feeling confused, pressured, or off, that's enough information. Because again, this isn't about blaming or diagnosing. This is about evaluating situations, dynamics, and relationships for whether or not they can be deemed safe or a threat to what you, the empath, the sensitive, the person recovering from CPTSD, are trying to facilitate. So we want to evaluate situations to whether or not something is safe or a threat to that thing that we are trying to build and facilitate in ourselves. And that is a healthy sense of self. So one thing that I want to say that before I move on is just, you need to know that somebody doesn't have to be a bad person in order for them to be unsafe for you. So don't be looking for that. I'm only emphasizing that because I know for me, I've gotten hung up many times. And while I'm trying to figure out whether or not this person is a demon, I'm still getting mollywopped upside the head trying to figure out whether or not I have permission to leave and to protect myself and to do what it is I need to do for myself. So that's number one. A person doesn't have to be bad in order for that situation or that dynamic to be unhealthy or unsafe for you. Number two, pressure and urgency. What this looks like is if somebody may do something harmful to you and then immediately demand that you forgive them, right? So let's just say that they elbow you in the stomach. They might argue with you about how what they did to you made you feel, or they may deny that they even did anything at all, or they may blame you for you making them do what they did to you. Then immediately they are pressing you and pressuring you for an answer of forgiveness or reconciliation on the spot. You still are like doubled over in pain, and they are pressing you and pressuring you for reconciliation or for forgiveness or for an answer, or it's kind of like hurry up and decide, hurry up and do now. You know, they don't really give you a chance or give things a chance to really flow naturally. If a situation is really pressurized and somebody's very urgent all the time, that's not going to be an ideal situation for you, because you, person recovering from CPTSD, you, highly sensitive person, deeply perceptive, intuitive, empath, you need time to check in with your body and check in with yourself to know what it is that you feel about a situation. So I want to say that just because somebody like is more faster paced, that doesn't automatically make them toxic. But we want to evaluate the situation to determine whether or not the situation is safe for you. Is there space for you? Are they able to slow things down for you? Do they respect it when you ask them to slow down? Do they give you time when they say you need time? These are things we want to ask ourselves. If they're not, it looks like not giving you space without guilt tripping you. Or they might give you the space in a way that feels threatening, like you will lose the relationship or lose the connection if you take the time that you need. I'm highlighting this because for a person that is recovering from CPTSD, an empath, or anybody that kind of brushes up against any of those experiences, when somebody is threatening to remove connection from you because you want to take your time to understand how you feel, that's not good for you. That's not an ideal situation for you, because that is your life story. That's the thing that we're trying to heal. So a person can be not technically toxic or not. If that is their behavior, that's not an ideal dynamic for you to be in. So this pressure and urgency, it also looks like somebody may be whipping up a situation into like this emotional, energetic chaos. So they like whip everything up into a frenzy, and then they construct a scenario, and then they back you into a corner, and then they make no room for you to answer anyway but yes. And it's like, if you assert a boundary or say anything other than yes, then you look like the asshole. You look like the person that's inconsiderate. You look like the person that's cold and cruel and hard-hearted. And they set up the entire situation just so that you would have to say yes, because they know that if you say no, if you assert a boundary, then everything's going to come crashing down on your head. If you find yourself engaging with people who set up scenarios like that, they create a whole lot of pressure. They create a whole lot of urgency. They whip up a whole lot of emotional chaos and a frenzy. Oh, this is going on. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Right? And then, but the thing about it is, when things are whipped up into this big emotional frenzy, everybody kind of gets chaotic, and you just start making decisions, and you can feel out of control. So I'm in the editing process right now, and I'm listening back to the things that I was saying. And it is at this moment that I forgot I didn't go far enough. People who are toxic, they thrive on feeling like they are in control, right? So whenever you feel stable, whenever you are emotionally regulated, whenever you have control of yourself, they feel out of control. They need your emotional reaction in order to feel powerful, in order to feel in control. So people like this will stir up chaos. They will stir up confusions. They will create situations that just raise the temperature of the emotional, the energy in the room. And then whenever you get frazzled, then they get to sit back and be calm and be cool. And then they feel powerful because they're watching you drown and be a mess in a situation that they created. They need your emotional reaction in order to feel powerful and in order to feel in control. So in a lot of these situations and a lot of these dynamics, it is about control and it is about power. People will do this on purpose because they feel out of control. When you are in control of yourself, people feel out of control. They need you to feel out of control for them to feel in control, for them to feel powerful. That's something that I think that you should just know. You should just understand, right? Because when you realize it, you're like, oh, shit, I was perfectly fine. I was perfectly fine. You don't know what to do with yourself. You need everything else to be chaotic and a mess so that then you can feel big in the midst of all the chaos that you've created. If you would have told me this years ago, I might not have believed it. Once you get stable, once you are able to regulate your own emotion, once you have taken account of all of your emotions and all of your feelings and all of your little ponies are in the barn and nobody can exploit them, that makes other people feel very uncomfortable and very out of control. So just be aware of the power that you have by being able to be emotionally regulated and by possessing your own emotion and creating distance between yourself and people that thrive on that type of thing. All right, I'm gonna let you get back to it. Sorry about the bathrobe. I know you probably like, what's with the cloak and dagger vibe? But I just had to cut in. And maybe I'll do that from now on. I mean, I'm just keeping it real. So that's it for now. You just start making decisions and you can feel out of control. Somebody who is truly toxic, they will do that intentionally. People also do it unintentionally and they still might be toxic. But the point about it is these are behaviors to look out for. So I don't give a damn if you're a toxic person or not. If that is how you behave, I'm good. We good. I'm good on that. We don't need to, this is not a situation for me. We will not be in close proximity to each other. We won't have close dealings with each other because that's how you behave. And I can't trust you in my space. That's the point. I cannot trust you in my space. I'm always having to look out for octopus hands, trying to look how they can cross a boundary, how they can slip around where I've said no, how they can push and push and push and so they can cross my threshold. You're not safe to be in my space because I always got to be watching my back. I also want to note that in situations like that, where a person is creating a scenario to make you look like an asshole if you say no, I want to highlight again that that's a kryptonite for a person that experiences CPTSD, because you don't want to look like an asshole. You don't want to look inconsiderate. You don't want to be the bad person that somebody was to you, right? So what do you do? What do you do? I'll give you a situation, a hypothetical situation. Let's say you don't really want company at your house and you're unsure about it. So family member number one calls you, backs you into a corner and tries to get you to have everybody over at your house for the family dinner. Let's just say Thanksgiving at your house, right? Let's make it big pressure, like it's a big holiday. So everybody's got great expectation. They don't really ask you directly. They just sort of hint and suggest that we should have it at your house. And you say, what do you say? No, I don't really want to have Thanksgiving at my house. How about we do it at your house or somebody else's house? You say that clearly. Yeah, I was just thinking we would do it at yours. And then they fast talk you. They don't even really wait for an answer. They just kind of fast talk you and put the suggestion back, like we should have Thanksgiving at your house, right? You get off the phone with this person, and meanwhile, they go around and they call 5 or 6 other family members. They tell this person to bring the turkey, this person to bring mac and cheese, this person to bring the green beans, this person to bring the cornbread, this person to bring the fruit punch. And to each person that they talk to, they're very vague, where nothing can ever be pinned back on them, right? It's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Everything's still up in the air. We're still working out the details. I don't know what's going on. I'll let you know when it comes time for us to go where we're going to do it at. Whole time they know they have every intention on bombarding your space. You've already said no, but they're going to force it, right? Everybody's off work. Everybody's gotten dressed. They're all ready to go. The head honcho here, the troublemaker, packs everybody up in their car and drives everyone to your house. Then they push your doorbell camera. And when you look at the screen, the whole family's outside your door. You didn't want company. What are you going to do? You can assert your boundary and look like the inconsiderate, cold-hearted asshole that sends the whole family away with the warm turkey, or you can allow your boundary to be crossed. It's kind of extreme, but that's the point. They will see all of the emotions that are involved. People set aside their day. They made plans around coming to your house. Everybody else was on one accord based on what this person said. Right? So they've got a gang of people behind them in their plan to cross your boundary. So if you assert that my boundary will not be crossed, everybody's just going to be confused and you're going to look like the asshole. you're going to look like the person that's cold-hearted and inconsiderate. So they put you in a situation, they create scenarios so that you have no choice but to agree to what it is that they want you to do. And that's how it works. So if you see that that's how somebody moves, I would advise you to really not have close contact with them. Don't have too many dealings with them. Because if that's how they behave, they're going to behave that way all the way around. They're going to do that to you. They're going to do it to you. And what are you going to do? I mean, next. Self-doubt and gaslighting. So going back to what I said earlier, somebody may argue with you about what they did to you or how what they did to you made you feel. They may minimize what they did, or they may minimize how you feel. They may blame you for making you do what they did to you. And in the worst cases, they may even flat out deny what they did, period. I mean, all of that is gaslighting, but the flat out denial, I never did that. I don't remember that, right? I don't remember that. But you've been in bed crying about what they did ever since. I never did that. I didn't do that. And they will stand on it. Let's just call it what it is. That kind of behavior, that is toxic behavior. I don't care what the reason is. And here's the thing. This is the point that I want to make. What I really want to stress. I mean, pointing out the toxic behaviors, we can always talk about the toxic behaviors at any point. There are so many videos that talk about toxic behaviors and how to spot a narcissist. This ain't that. It doesn't matter whether or not somebody is a narcissist or not. If they are behaving in this way, it's unacceptable to you. When you're trying to parse out what's what, wait, I forgot my point. There it is. As the empath, right? Here's how you're going to get lost in the woods. When you try to figure out, are they bad? Are they a toxic person? Should I throw them away? Are they they're not a narcissist. Look what they did. Look how they are. They're a freaking saint to the community. They bought you this stuff. They say all these nice things about you. They can't be a bad person. And yet they punch you in the stomach and they deny they do it. Or they slap you in the face and then they gaslight you. Or they stomp on your toe and then tell you that you're overreacting, or, something like that. And still give you the high praise, or they buy things for you, or they do big things for you, or they're a pillar in their community, whatever the case may be. And so you're trying to decide what from what in the situation. And I would advise you not to do that, because when you look closely at that person, you may find they had a horrible childhood. You may find that these are coping mechanisms, right? And if you're the empath, if you have survived CPTSD, you are conditioned to be oriented to somebody else's experience and not your own. So while you look a little closer to try and decide whether or not they're a toxic person, or look a little closer to try and determine whether or not they're a narcissist, you're going to find some reason for their behavior, some logical explanation for their behavior. Whatever it may be. And because you are the empath and you're already oriented toward other people's experience, it's going to override what you actually feel, how they actually made you feel. How does it feel for somebody to have punched you in the stomach? You don't know, because you're so busy looking at their childhood and what they must have went through, and how all they're doing is trying to cope and do the best with what they have. Or they may be fully aware of what they went through, and they'll use that as an explanation for their behavior to continue to do it. Now, I'm not saying that we don't do things that we have to apologize for. I'm talking about continuous patterns of behavior that leave you scratching your head and confused, questioning your own reality, surges of anxiety coursing through your body. If interactions and dynamics leave you feeling like that, Molly, you in danger, girl. Okay? You're already coming from a place of questioning your own reality. So when somebody gaslights you, whether it's intentional or not, it's very, very, very harmful. And it's a threat to the thing that you are trying to facilitate in yourself, which is a healthy sense of self and boundaries. So anybody that is unsafe or a threat to that healthy sense of self and those boundaries is going to constantly be pushing up against it. Constantly. You need to get them out of there. They need to get out. Next. You got to go. Immediately, no. You got to go. I don't care what the story is. They got to go. I don't care. They have to go. Because if you've experienced CPTSD, how many times have you been about to lose it? Because you have sacrificed yourself for somebody else and what somebody else was feeling? How many times have you been uncomfortable and humiliated within yourself because you allowed things to happen to you because of what someone else was feeling? Don't allow it. They got to get out of there. I don't care what the reason is. I don't care what the reason is. Now, later on in your journey, later on down the line, there may be times where you can discern and make exceptions. And there may be times where you have a higher tolerance and you can kind of mitigate situations. But if it's a threat to your healthy sense of self and your stability and your mental well-being, they out of there. They got to go. Period. I don't care the situation. Next. So this one is kind of one of my favorites, and I'm going to read it because I don't want to mess it up. I would suggest digging out the claws before you walk away, if it's safe enough for you to wait and dig out the claws. And what I mean by digging out the claws is figuring out the function that this person, situation, or dynamic is serving in your life. And then remove the claws, grieve the loss, and find a way to meet the need in a healthier way. If something is toxic to you and you can't let it go, if you really want to be able to get that thing back on the other side of your boundary and hold that boundary well, identify first. Why is this here? How is this in me? How does this thing have its hooks in me so? Why do I keep coming back? Why do I keep allowing this? What am I getting from this? What function is this serving in my life? Is somebody giving you some kind of financial support? Do you feel some kind of security with this person? Are you lonely for a connection and are just taking crumbs from a situation? And you don't want to lose it because you think that you're not going to be able to find any other connection. And so you take what you can get. What function is this thing serving? You don't want to be alone. Or they give you the high praise and all you've ever wanted was for somebody to shower you with praise and see you. So identify what it is. What thing is it that they're doing? What purpose, what function are they serving in your life? Why do you keep coming back, right? Because nobody's going to keep coming back to something that's not serving a purpose. So identify what that purpose is that this thing is serving in your life. And once you identify what that is, remove the claws from your back. Resolve to grieve the loss and meet that need in a healthier way. And when you do that, you'll get that toxic thing on the other side of your boundaries and you will be able to hold that boundary. You say, you can't come in. I know what you look like. I know what you're offering, but that's not good for me. I'm going to find another way to meet this need. You know, this is me talking to the toxic thing on the other side of the door. Whatever the thing is, remove the claws. Put it on the outside of your boundaries, grieve the loss, and meet the need in a healthier way. Finally, this is my favorite part. Can you guess what it is? Return to the body. That's always going to always be the answer. It is paramount for the HSP, empath, or person recovering from CPTSD to learn to root themselves firmly in their own experience. How does this make me feel? What do I think? What do I need right now? Because for too long, you've been oriented towards everyone else's experience, excluding your own experience. So it's paramount for the HSP, for the sensitive, for the empath, for the person recovering from CPTSD. That's the whole goal of this thing. You were separated from yourself, and now you got to make your way back. So one thing that I've learned is that people who don't face these kinds of challenges, they're not empaths, they're not HSP, they're not necessarily sensitive, they're not very emotional, not bad things, but they just don't share this experience that you and I might share. It's not that they are necessarily disregarding other people's experience. It's just that they are just so aware of their own experience that another person's experience doesn't even occur to them. And here we are on the other side of the looking glass, and all we know is somebody else's experience. So it is important for you to get into your body. It is paramount for you to be still and to be quiet so you can know, what does the body feel? What does the body need? I don't like that. I need to get away from this. That doesn't make me feel good. You won't hear it with a whole lot of noise and a whole lot of static and a whole lot of chaos and emotional frenzy and upheaval and a whole lot of pressure and urgency. You won't know what you feel. And the person who is what we might consider toxic, they are hell bent on creating this kind of emotional upheaval and chaos. And because you don't know what you feel or what you think, you know what they'll say to you? Well, you just seem confused. You just seem confused. Here, let me tell you what you think. Let me tell you what you're feeling. So it's important for you to carve out time and space for you to get still, for you to get quiet, and for you to return to your body, period. It's imperative. You can't get around it. Situations that are toxic to you will not allow you to take that time and space. When you ask for the space and time, it's not respected. Boundaries are crossed, and your own clarity, emotion regulation, and resolve are being threatened and are at stake. Take the necessary action to hold the boundaries around what you need. So again, like I said before, people who kind of maybe move a little bit more faster pace and they might be a little pushy, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're toxic. But here's the thing, whether or not they can stay in your personal space, whether or not they are safe for you to be around, is when you ask, like, hey, you think we can slow down? I think I need some time to think about things. Do they respect that? Do they back off without guilt tripping you? And they give you the time without calling you and calling you and calling you, or pressuring you and pressuring you, or sending somebody else to call you and talk to you? Do they back off and give you that space? Do they reassure you, take your time, I'll be here when you think it through? If they don't respect that, they gotta go. People may call you extreme, selfish, guilt trip you, say everything is all about you all the time, but against every empathic bone in your body, do not listen to them. The moment that you stand up on your feet and say, I will not tolerate this. This is my boundary. Oh, you're selfish. You're mean. Everything is all about you. You always have to get your way. But I want to tell you something, and I want to be clear because I've experienced it. People who are not toxic, people who have boundaries, and the people that you want to be around you, and the people that are safe to be in your personal space, they respect boundaries. I can tell you this because I've experienced it firsthand. See, the toxic person is banking on you not knowing a non-toxic experience. But when you have experiences that are non-toxic, you know, hey, wait a minute, I should be able to say no, and my no is respected. I've had experiences where I say, I don't know. I don't feel so good about this. I need time to think about it. And the other person's like, okay, take your time. When you want to talk about it, let me know. It's okay. Take your time. Don't feel bad. Give me a call. I understand that you know what I mean? I would want to take time for myself. Very reassuring and allowing for you to have that space and time. That's what it feels like to have the kind of people around you that you want in your personal space. So when it don't feel like that, you can let it go. And I don't care what the situation is. I don't care if they mean well. I don't care who it is. Let them go. They can't be in your personal space. You don't need to be in close contact with them. You certainly do not. Now, again, and finally, as I wrap this up, as we progress in our journey of development, there will always be challenges, right? Because a boundary is there because things push up against our boundaries. A boundary is there so that when something pushes up against it, it knows like, oh, okay, my bad. It's not that nobody will ever press up against a boundary. It's that when they press up against a boundary and it's uncomfortable for you and say, hey, I don't like that. Here's my boundary. That's going to happen. And that's okay. That's what a boundary is for. It's the limit. It's where people know to stop and come no further. Right. And sometimes boundaries do get crossed and you just politely ask somebody or you knock the hell out of them is when you ask somebody outside of them. So I'm not saying that it's this, everybody got to go that ever cross a boundary I'm not saying that. I mean, right now it might be. And I'm here to tell you right now that if that's the stage where you're do it like that. Be extreme like that. Because if you experience CPTSD, nobody was ever protective of you in that way. And if you're reparenting yourself, show that baby that you're going to protect them at all costs. And when it's time, you'll loosen up the rules a little bit more. You will be able to tolerate a little bit more. And then, nope, you got to go. Too much. You got to go. And then as time goes on, later on down the year, you'll be able to allow more. You understand what I'm saying? It won't always be such strict, rigid, absolutely not. You got to go put one toe over my boundary and you're out. But in the very beginning, if that's where you are, I give you full permission. Kick them out. They got to go. Okay?